This podcast is made possible by the listener members of Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nash Villager Podcast. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. It's April 5th, 2025, and we're getting more rain than we can handle this week. It's kind of hard to believe today that not long ago we were in a pretty severe drought all across Middle Tennessee. In case you forgot, WPLN's environment reporter Caroline Eggers filed story after story over a period of months about how dry everything had become. It took January's snowstorm to pull us out of that state. We are definitely dealing with the opposite situation now. The ground is saturated, the streams and rivers are full, some are overflowing, and rain is expected to continue on and off through the weekend. Yesterday morning, I came into work early so I could start fielding all of the weather warnings that were coming in. Over and over, an angry red light would blink on the wall. That's the heads up that the warning is coming in over the Emergency Alert System, or EAS, the network that links the National Weather Service to broadcasters. At first, it was all tornado warnings. There was an ugly-looking rotation on the radar passing over Savannah, Tennessee, up through Murray County, into the Franklin area, across the southern part of Davidson County, and up to Mount Juliet. And then the flash flood warnings. Those were too much to keep track of. Warning after warning, each for a long string of counties. I didn't have time to cross-reference the lists or consult the map we keep in the control room to see if there are any counties not being warned. I decided the safest, most clear communication I could offer to listeners was to just say most of Middle Tennessee was under a flash flood warning. Clearly, it had to be a majority of counties in these many overlapping warnings. But also, with this much rain, and given how interconnected our system of waterways is, eventually anyone near a creek or in a low-lying area was going to be at risk. Better to tell everyone to be on alert than to leave anyone out. The map that we keep is more than just a map. It's got a guide to how we as a station handle different weather warnings. When do you interrupt live programming versus waiting for the next scheduled break? That kind of thing. What parts of the National Weather Service boilerplate language we choose to air and what we leave out. So, for instance, we don't usually give all the safety instructions for what to do in a severe thunderstorm because unless it's an unusual storm, they're really just common sense. For a tornado, we're more likely to say something like, it's time to take cover or go to your safe space. And for flash flooding, that block of text on the map is especially specific. It points out that more Tennesseans are killed by flash floods than tornadoes, that people tend to underestimate floodwaters, and so it says we should always give the safety instructions. I get especially concerned about that point on days like yesterday, when tornadoes are in the mix first and then flash floods follow. I think everyone is all rightfully scared of twisters, and when we feel that fear subside, it's easier than ever to think the flash flooding is not such a big deal. And when that thinking sets in, things can be extra dangerous. Weather experts say the problem with flash flooding is that we, and I do mean all of us humans, are really bad at estimating the risk just from looking at the water. And we often can't see all of what's feeding that flooding and impacting the way the floodwaters behave. The speed of the water can pick up very quickly in some situations. The water can be deeper than you think. And it doesn't take as much depth as you might think for things to get really risky. It only takes 1.5 feet or 2 feet of moving water to carry a large vehicle away, and less for a sedan or a compact car, much less for a human body. There can also be dangers hiding in the water. Sure, you know that dip in the road isn't so deep, but you don't know that a big chunk of debris washed into that dip, got stuck there, and is covered completely by floodwaters. And even outside of roads, the water can cover dangers you don't know about, like downed power lines that are still live with electricity, or toxic materials from an area where the water flowed on its way to where you are. All kinds of things that could cause you harm. Like I said before, the rain is still falling and will continue to do so for the next couple of days at least. Tomorrow may be our most dangerous weather day yet. And the safe thing to do is to respect that water and how powerful it can be. Like the National Weather Service always prompts us to say, turn around, don't drown. In just a few minutes, an excerpt from This Is Nashville that shows what it takes for an unhoused person to get a home. That's coming up after the newscast.
federal policies can feel distant, WPLN's newsroom captures the local impacts.
Tennessee gets around $700 million a year in grants from the National Institutes of Health.
Staff are also practicing what they'll do if ICE agents show up.
Now, with potential cuts from Trump, it's a lot of disruption.
Local listeners like you fund this reporting and national NPR. Strengthen the network. Give at WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. President Donald Trump has approved an emergency declaration in Tennessee after deadly tornadoes and baseball-sized hail tore through the state. From a storm shelter in West Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee said that the damage he surveyed yesterday has been devastating, with apartments and mobile homes completely destroyed.
What's most difficult about it is you know that those are lives destroyed. In some cases, true life lost, but in other cases, just everything people owned up in trees.
So far, 5 people have been reported dead. Lee says that tally could change as FEMA learns more about the true impact of the storm and as severe flooding continues to pose a serious risk statewide. WPLN's Caroline Eggers reports that the severe weather threats will persist through Sunday.
Some towns got a month or more of rainfall in the past day. Tornadoes and heavy winds uprooted trees and damaged buildings. A nearly baseball-sized chunk of hail fell in Ashland City. And the threat is ongoing across Middle and West Tennessee. The National Weather Service issued flash flood warnings and tornado watches on Thursday afternoon. Forecasters have also warned of catastrophic flooding risk in parts of West Tennessee, as continued rainfall could accumulate to 15 inches by Sunday.
Middle Tennessee may get a break today before the storms pick back up. The Weather Service says tomorrow will be the most dangerous day. Middle Tennessee will also experience significant flooding. Some counties may receive an additional 2 to 8 inches of rain this week, and that could put creeks temporarily over the edge. In the Nashville metro area, the Browns, Richland, Mansker, Whites, and Mill Creeks are at high levels, and some have spilled over roads and made them impassable. Well, Middle Tennesseans were awakened by multiple tornado warnings early yesterday morning, but in some areas that lost power, tornado sirens' batteries were drained and could not sound during some of the later waves of the storm. Nashville's Office of Emergency Management says those sirens were recharged once electricity was restored. But officials say that's a reminder to have multiple ways to receive warnings about the weather, such as your cell phone or the radio. Sirens are noisy, but they can't always be heard indoors. Tennessee lost about $179 million of federal infectious disease funding, and the state's Department of Health is staying quiet on specifics. The Elon Musk-led group known as DOGE canceled the grants without warning. This is part of a nationwide cancellation, which totaled about $12 billion. WPLN's health reporter Catherine Sweeney tells us more.
Other states and jurisdictions were using the funds to pay for measles contact tracers and epidemiologist salaries and replacing outdated data systems. They've reported the cuts will be devastating. And Metro Public Health announced layoffs and canceled measles vaccine clinics. But TDOH refused to answer any questions, including whether the cuts will trigger layoffs or hiring freezes, or whether it would affect vaccine programming and measles prevention.
The Department of Health announced a 4th case of measles this week, the latest in an ongoing national case surge. All of the state's cases have been in Middle Tennessee. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. What does it take for an unhoused person to find permanent housing in Nashville? And what goes into the relationships between people living unhoused and the service providers who are trying to help? That's what our daily show, This is Nashville, is exploring in year 2 of its In My Place series. We're bringing you an excerpt. It features a moment from Old Tent City, one of the largest encampments. But it starts with host Khalil Ekalona talking with Ryan Lampa, the executive director of People Loving Nashville.
Ryan, do you have an example of a time where trust was broken between a service provider and a client, and what happened to rebuild that trust if it was able to be reconstructed?
Yeah, man. I mean, we do promote within our organization, yes, we want to be able to serve as many people as possible, but we also realize that, if that trust is broken, sometimes we'll have to switch that caseworker. We'll have to switch that person, that personnel, and say, hey, because, if somebody is uncomfortable with me, I might be uncomfortable with them too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to, like, okay, this person's uncomfortable with maybe the way that I talk or the way that I look or the way that I present myself, even as a caseworker. And we can recognize that pretty early on. We'll switch the caseworker around. And then there's sometimes where we'll just say, hey, we might not be the right organization. We might not be the right folks. And we honor that, man. I mean, people are, all of our needs are also different and so dynamic. We're not going to say that people living in Nashville is going to be the end all be all of that. We are very saying, hey, come on in. Everybody's got a seat at the table, but also realizing and trying to dignify the people that we're serving to say, we might not be the best people to work with for your particular situation. We'll refer out.
Real quick, Rico.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in a little bit because I think that sometimes we make mistakes and we have to work and if we make a mistake, we have to acknowledge it and do what we can to make that right. And I think that goes a long way in rebuilding that trust.
This is very much two ways too, because we as service providers, we will be the ones that'll break that trust at times too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We got something. We have a clip that comes to that. Now, in this next clip, we listen to a conversation between our managing editor, Tasha A.F. Lemley, and Mama V, who lives in Old Tent City, one of the largest encampments in Nashville. Mama V describes what trusts look like from her vantage point. She sits in her chair in her camper next to an open window and frequently shouts instructions out the window to her friends and family. Let's check it out.
You're saying it's hard for even outreach workers to trust.
Yes.
See, that's interesting. I've been thinking too much of trust as a one-way street. Like, you're the one that needs to, build trust. But you keep turning it around on me and saying, how are they going to trust you?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's say it like this. The one organization that came down here to pass out food, they decided to jump him and rob him.
They jumped the guy bringing food?
Yeah, because they wanted his money. It was a guy from a church that just had came out to pass out sandwiches and try to be nice. Yeah. And they jumped him.
Yeah.
I mean, these people, you can't trust a lot of people out here. You can't. A lot of them, Pack, they quit coming out here because she got threatened. It's went from like having 10 to 15 to coming out to maybe 4 or 5 at the most because the way people was approaching them, like bombarding them. Like, just need. We had one group that used to come out and set up the chairs and everything. And they just got tired of everybody just swamping them, want, and not giving them even chance to set up and get ready to serve or anything before they started bugging them. They quit coming. And then the bikers group, it used to come out. It don't come out no more. The Mexican group that came out don't come out anymore.
So do you think some of the reason people don't come is because of broken trust?
I think it's because they're tired of getting bombarded. It took me 1.5 years to get all of them to respect me the way they do now. Because when I first came out here, I was by myself in a one-man pop-up tent with nothing except the clothes on my back and a meth addict. 3 years ago, I'm 3 years clean and proud of it. And they all just started calling me Mama V down here. Even the cops, all the outreaches, it's not Miss Carrie, it's Mama V. Because that's what everybody labeled me as down here.
So that has really built relationships. I mean, people love you.
Mm-hmm. And it's because, like I say, out here you have to look out for you, but also watch out for other people. Mm-hmm. And if you both don't pull your pants up, you're going to meet this belt.
Hey, look.
I don't care. Pull them up.
Mama V holding it down. Now, let me ask you this, Alonzo. When you were living under a bridge, were you approached by folks who wanted to help?
Yeah, I mean, they seemed like they was trying to help you, but sometimes people play on you that way. So they always friendly with you when they first trying to meet you because you don't even know what they're really trying to be your friend for. And sometimes you get set up that way, being gullible. So you always got to be aware, and you always got to watch your surroundings.
What tips do you have for anyone listening who's out there who wants to help, be they a part of an organization, be they someone in their neighborhood who knows where a few unhoused members, community members may be encamping, or if they're interested in going up to encampments, like we just heard Mama V detail? What's your advice to them?
I'm going to tell them to be consistent. If you're going to go try to help someone, be a person that's a man of your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And also be authentic. Be genuine. Don't fake like you're going to do it and then don't really want to do it, because they can sense that. And then be a person that's actively listening, hearing what they're saying and getting their point of view. And then also be empathetic, where you have some empathy, so you can kind of like say, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I've been in your shoes. And open communication, not just you talking, but let them also talk. And then also show respect for one another, regardless of your differences. And then set some boundaries in your relationship, because some relationships you have to have boundaries in it, because that's how a lot of the relationships end up broken, because you don't set boundaries. And then invest time. You gotta invest time. And admit when you make mistakes. As Rico said, if you made a mistake, just say it. And last but not least, celebrate with that person when they accomplish things. You want to be the person there with them when they reach their goals, to celebrate with them. That's how you build relationships.
Alonzo Cheeks is a board member of Project Return. He was on the show along with Rico X, CEO of Project Return, and Ryan Lampa, the executive director of People Loving Nashville. I want to thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
That conversation again comes from our daily show, This is Nashville, and it's In My Place series, which is now in its second year. And you can hear those kinds of conversations in the This is Nashville podcast feed. Thanks for listening to the Nashvillager podcast. We take this look at Nashville news every weekday. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and tell a friend or give us a mention on your socials. It really helps get the word out. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can become a member at WPLN.org. That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up next week.